Welcome back to the Craftverse series, everybody. This is episode 400, and it's finally time for a world tour. Today, I'm going to give you a first-hand walkthrough of everything you can expect to find in the world download, available on Patreon to $5 and $10 subscribers. So, let's get to it, I guess. This is a copy of the world, as in the original download, you're not going to have creative mode access unless you decide you want to. But for the download, it's going to be in normal difficulty survival mode. So let's just go to a safe spot and plop ourselves down. So this is the main island we spent the majority of our time on at the very beginning of this series. When I originally started, I was just looking for a place to build a house. And where we built that house is where our visage currently stands. Been a long, long time since I've seen that house. I've built this visage, and I kept our original nether portal intact, so we have everything changed around it except for that first portal. We have a lot of different builds from a lot of different creators on this world, and it's going to take us some time to go through each and every one of them. But some of these things are actually my creation, like the smokehouse, which I actually just Googled a couple of different things and kind of hodgepodge to design together, Minecraft style. And I think it came out nicely. Gonna hop into spectator and pop back through here. So you can see we have a bunch of different smokers back here, all hooked up to a railway system, all feeding back down into this chest here. Let's pop back into creative mode so we don't need to stay in spectator this whole time. And then we have some of these storage houses for food and various other things designed originally by cryptozoology. Now, only a couple of these things are actually stocked. Like, we have a bunch of hay bales, but I didn't bother stocking any of the other stuff, unfortunately. I wish I had stocked up some of these, like the golden carrots. That would have been very nice, but I was focused on materials more so than food. Speaking of food, we do have some berry bushes over here, as well as glowberries from Happy's Tribute build. He had no hand in the design, but I decided, because I went through the Awkward Kingdom Season 1 and found his little berry system in his cave base, I wanted to do something similar in honor of him. Oh, well, that was awkward. Just gonna leave that behind and act like that didn't happen. Sometimes I forget creative mode means you can break blocks without a tool in hand. Oh, lag. Then we have these mini statues, originally designed by MC Noodler. I'm going to assume that is pronounced McNoodler, but I know. I don't want to have too much credit to McDonald's. And then we have my elevator design. It's not really that intense a design. It's a fairly simple build. Just put a couple of pillars, block off the water flow. It can't go out. Which this one leads up to our automatic spawning for animals. Come all the way down this pathway here, and you should start seeing some spawn. Because we're high enough up away from the ground, you might see a pig or a horse or a chicken or a sheep come up there. Potentially a cow. Let's make sure we're on the right setting here. Yeah, we're on normal. Okay. Not that that should be influencing the spawns. Although I suppose oh, there's one. Thought creative would have influenced that in some way. But nope, we still see them spawning up there, and they will fall into that chamber, get forced down the hole onto the platform over here, and thus burn away. And all of the goods should end up in this chest right here. Now, back down this way, you'll see we have several of these towers. The nether design over here was inspired after I built the overworld design of Eigel Tower, which is actually inspired by a real-life pagoda. And if I could find the image, I can probably tuck that into the cards on screen. We have some more of these mini statues, but this right here is actually originally from the Awkward Kingdom Season 1, from when Time Runner joined and subsequently ended up having some glitches in the nether and lost 2 of his tridents to lava deaths. So he decided to build twin tridents. His did not age all the way before we ended the season, so I went ahead and built it with the fully aged and waxed variations. But the reason this is here is because it leads down to our trident farm, which if we come down here, come on, go down. There we go. Down we go. This is where you would sit. In this little room right here, just waiting for things. And inside this dispenser, I have a couple of these Nautilus shells. The goal here is to click that, and hopefully one of them will trade for the item in their hand. And if they don't, they'll just end up in here. But also, you kind of want them to break away from the rest of the group. Although if they do die, sometimes they drop the item in there regardless. I don't currently have my sword in my hotbar, so we're not going to be swinging that right now. But this does work, I assure you. It's just a little finicky. As the updates went by, they tried to make it so they were less likely to trade, but it does still work. You can get a perfect durability trident from this method without having to kill them and have durability loss on it. Off down this way, we have the original mob grinder I built out of whatever materials I had on me. And I've only done a couple of sprucing up things, like adding the lights underneath it so things won't spawn down here, as well as the lights up top and changing the roof so it actually looks semi-good. But the majority of this has stayed from when I first built it. And I have no regrets about that. The design up here, I think, is pretty good. This actually came from the one I built in Season 1 of the Awkward Kingdom, on the one right next to spawn. It doesn't have as robust of a collection setup as the Season 1 Awkward Kingdom build, but it does have a collection setup. We can go inside and I can show you just a little bit. You can kind of see it from outside. Going through the door. We just have these 2 right now, and they are semi-organized. You can organize them however you see fit when you get your copy of the world download. But if you want to run it... Oh. But you see, that might be a bit of an issue. It's supposed to have tridents in there, but I believe they've all fallen through the world from all of the world copying I've done, as well as potentially from the duping. Because when you log in and out of a world quickly, it tends to mess with trident killers, so when I was doing all the mass duping, I think I broke it. But it shouldn't be too difficult to just walk over there. Potentially up here. Well, you might have to change the mode before you do that. Throw the couple of tridents in there and then it should kick off. I made the mistake of leaving it on normal mode when I was trying to fix the big one over there. And let's just go over there so you can see. I had to do some maintenance. Over here, you'll see it's patched up with non-explodable blocks because every time I patched it in with what was meant to be there, they just kept spawning and exploding every time I fixed it. Took the blocks that were preventing the mobs there, they would see me on the way down and explode, thus creating the problem anew. So, I decided I'm just going to go ahead and make them non-explodable. It just doesn't look as good. These sheep right here may need some more shears. Let's take a quick peek in here. Oh yeah, this one's already near dead. Some of them are not even naked. Like this guy right here, for example, is not producing any new wool, just a redstone pulse every time one of the shears is supposed to fire. This guy over here, I think these are all going to be completely covered in their original color of wool soon. That's unfortunate. But it's not like you don't have an iron farm right here, ready for reloading. Let's go take a quick gander in there, shall we? If the game will stop lagging, there we go. Get out of creative for me. There we go. Now we're walking. And you can see that we are still spawning in iron golems and the occasional cat. Everything will go into here and then thus into the system. Which, if we come down to the middle, you can see all of the redstone bits for the system. You can even access it if something gets clogged or you need to fix or change how much you're storing. You don't have to take all of the bits. You could just go for the iron and then throw the flowers and strings somewhere else, but I am currently having it set to collect everything. It's been going for a while. It's not really getting any string for whatever reason. This is just a backup thing for overflow. But this design here is actually an original. Just kind of fiddled with endstone and tried to make it so it looked pretty decent. I didn't have all of the mega duping done at the time, so I'm actually rather glad I was able to AFK the Ocean Monument just to get all of those sea lanterns. There is access to the top. You can come up this way. You will have to kind of hop off just a little bit, but you can get out. And you can see all these guys. There's even a little access point for trading. Okay, I didn't see the hat at first. I thought he was just a regular guy. Like, that's throwing the farm off. But nope, he's got a hat. He's cool. This one, I believe, has 30 or 40? There's 10 on each of these. What's the third one over here? Okay, it's another 10. Is there 10 on the front side? No, so it's 30 bed iron farm. But you can hit this button. I would flip this first and then hit the button, walk through, and then hit the button and then flip it closed on the top part just to make sure none of the villagers have babies and any of them slip out. I was gonna say fly out, but they're not in creative mode. But you can come all the way over here, back out the way we came, and see. I believe this one was by Oink Oink. Originally, it was just a one setup. I have it set to like 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6. 2 for carrots, 2 for wheat. Should be 2 for potatoes, because I didn't have a great deal of beetroot seeds at the time. It's also not that big of a crop, honestly. Over here, we still have the cow in the boat from the cow launching episode when I was trying to figure out how to get the shulkers into the overworld. Yeah, he's still here. This is just Cow Launch Lake. It's unofficially named. Do with that as you will. But the shulkers, oddly enough, are still here. And I still have the mechanism for getting them here. If you follow this all the way into the woods here, you can go down this tunnel and end up near the bottom of the world. So that'll be nice. What I would like to get to, if there's time for another season, is having an under the world shulker farm. But that's going to be a long time coming because I have to dig out a crap ton of space because they need, I think, 35 blocks of clearance before they can jump to anything. But 3 of my 4 original shulkers are here still. One of them has since died, as well as one of the snow golems, unfortunately. So this side is just kind of in limbo, not actually working. This side is still collecting stuff. In order to get in here without creative mode, you just go in through the water elevators inside the giant mob grinder, but each side is collecting its own stuff. So there's technically separate farms, but they are close enough that you can access both of their storage. See, this one is just kind of dead. This one will still eventually go up. It's already more than an entire shulker box full in there as is. Just come down here. Actually, let's see. Can we get a view of anything? Not really. It's kind of dark water look. Unfortunate. Now this world has no mods, no add-ons, none of that. So you're free to install whatever you wish for your own visual experience. But in here, once the sheep containment units are restocked with shears, you will have access to their wool stock, as well as whatever falls into the mob grinder. I believe this one should still have tridents in it. Let's see if it's turned on, if it will make the noise. Nope, all the tridents have fallen through the world, so they're just being pushed back and forth. Okay, so you need to restock this one as well. I would highly, highly, highly recommend making sure that's turned to peaceful mode before you switch that over. We do have a kelp farm right here from Wings of End, I believe. Now, every creator that I name in this video, you can either find on YouTube or Twitter by the handle that I am listing. This should still work. Oh yeah, you can see it's still duplicating. It looks like it's breaking, but you could still see the kelp coming off the top. And then if you turn it back off, all the kelp is still right where it's meant to be. So that's good. This farm still works. Now, even if those sheep aren't collecting, this should have been just far enough out of range to still be collecting stuff. This was meant to just be another visual stand outside. I never did get around to doing that. But we have all of the collections for each individual color of wool. There should be plenty for whatever shenanigans you so choose to do. Just make sure that they're restocked, and I'll show you how to get up there momentarily. But each of these 4 sections is its own individual color, so you don't have to worry about that. You can either go up this way, up to the main area, which has one of the original duping setups that I was using. Wow, I haven't used this in a good while. Is there still anything in these chests? No, I already emptied them and put them where they're supposed to go. Okay, this is just here for history's sake then. Is there anything in the furnace? A little bit of coal. But we have an enchanting setup up here. I went ahead and installed one of my setups for EXP restoration, which will also be very handy if you're just trying to enchant for the first time, but You won't need to worry about enchanting if you download this world. That much I can assure you. We're actually going to go into the sheep containment area and check on them. They are still producing wool. Let's go to the back sides here and see just one of them. Okay, I clicked it. There we go. Okay, so this one's a lot better off than the other wool farm over there. It's been far enough away from everything I've been doing, so there shouldn't be anybody that is fully clothed in this room at the moment. They should all just be fairly indecent, and it looks like they are. Now, you can go through some of these. This one comes out. I have it denoted by the direction the fence gates are facing. If you go this side, is it also facing this way? Yes, so you should be able to come down on this side into here. So there's multiple ways up and out. There's also other access points to leaving this structure. This one comes down to out here. This middle one was also meant to be one of those display stands, so you can actually just get a visual of out here without being fully exposed to things climbing up and saying hi. The other door leads into my AM community tribute build. And I have these pillars, which are a tribute to Season 1 of the Awkward Kingdom, when Death's Dollar helped me come up with the pillar design for my bridge, leaving from my cave base, or canyon base rather. And this is just a restructure and redesign of the AM community build. Originally, this was meant to be kind of standing in a floating space above a lake, but I kind of like how it came out with a woodsy feel. Not sure how I feel about all this grass being here after converting some of that over there into moss. Kind of prefer the mossy look, but it looks okay. So I'm happy with it. And then we have this bridge that extends all the way out to the second island. Or I suppose, no, it is the second island. This side is the first one we originally started on. The house that got converted into the visage. And then I branched out over here and built that house, which is all the way over here, the other side of the mob grinder, which has gradually taken shape. And I haven't really spent a great deal of time in it since I built the armory. This actually came from, I believe, Season 1 of the Awkward Kingdom as well, when I was building the bridges that go all the way down and across the giant lake next to spawn. And I had these little huts, I suppose? I've been calling them gazebos, actually, which is kind of what they are. They're not really fully enclosed, but they are structurally sound. And this one actually leads off to our mausoleum-wrapped tree farm, which is relatively safe. Oh, lag, 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 lag. We'll be dealing with that for quite some time, actually. This is a large file world with, it's not on a realm, so it's having to run off of my device. My device should be okay, but this is a PC, not a Switch. It shouldn't be quite as chunky as if I was doing the Switch. But if you were over here, you'll have access as well to our 64 cacti farm, which every so many ticks, one of them will break off and end up falling down into this collection chamber and thus into the storage system below. Maybe we'll get lucky and one of them will break off while we're sitting here. We'll give it a few seconds to see if something falls down. It's usually pretty quick with quite this many. There's one. Okay, so it is still working. And then one side or the other has the ladder system that brings you down to the storage area, which is its own little pier system. This one, I believe, goes left to right. Yep. Oop, that's the same chest. This has some in it. It kind of just goes... We can pop into spectator real quick. We can see the directions of these. Yeah, they just go straight back into these. So whichever one they end up going in determines which of the 3 stacks of chests they end up in. Which is fine. But this bridge leads over to our bamboo build. And it doesn't look like bamboo from the outside, but the inside, you can already see from right here, is bamboo mosaic slabs all the way. Now, these towers are all my original designs. They each have their own set of episodes for creation, so you're welcome to go back through and search for those in the playlist or the collection. If you're watching this on Patreon, they have their own tags as well. Just search tower. And then I haven't really expanded much out this way other than adding in a path that goes over to the Guardian Tower. Which, oddly enough, when you first spawn into the world, you should spawn around this tower. Either inside of it, which I'm not sure if there are any spawnable spaces in there, or right out in this back section here. Which is why I added these slabs, because this is where I spawned in when I forgot to set a bed and went through the end. But this is fully traversable on foot. We have these little hatches that bring you into the ladder spaces for this, which are just little tiered lookouts. So you can get a sense of where you want to build something or what you're looking at in relation. Now, each of these towers, or pillars rather, has them up until water level. I obviously did not continue going down under the water with those lookouts, but in between each of these towers we have a conduit set up, fully decked out, except for right here because there's already one inside the Guardian Tower. So you can see just how much effort was put into doing this. And all of this was done in survival mode, not creative mode. Yes, I probably used a bunch of duplicated blocks in order to do all of this because this is an exorbitant amount of tough. All of this is tough. And then we have our Blazed MC Guardian farm, which I have added my own storage collection setup to. Now, it may differ if you're building this on Java. For the collection, it might be just a bit different, but otherwise, it pretty much is the same build. So you could essentially do this exact same sorting system with minor adjustments. Now, when you come through the Nether portal, you're only going to end up on this little, like, boat system thing. Oh, Nautilus. Didn't realize this was a good place for them to spawn, even though I'm cutting off all the spawning spaces for everything else. But yeah, you can get a Nautilus over here and have some fun exploring the depths. That is a weird visual glitch right there. This over here is the first pixel art map I made on this world or in general in Minecraft. And this is a design I cultivated from an old drawing I did back in high school. I think it looks better with the color because the original design was just jet black, just on a white sheet of paper. This looks so much nicer, especially the map art when it fully came out. Now, a lot of the white is actually sea lanterns, as you can probably see from up here. Just so when we go to nighttime, let's try midnight. Yeah, you can still see the whole thing. There's some bits that are going to be hazardous, like those little dark patches in there, but if we had like a black light I could put there, I would do that. Honestly, just using a black stained glass and then putting a light bulb underneath that should be enough. I just never went ahead and did that. Is this blackstone or is this... Oh no, this is the polished deep slate. Okay. And then we have the wool for the actual design. Let's go ahead and make it daytime again. Just for ease of loading. I have cloud generation turned off, so it loads a little easier, but stars you can't turn off, so that lags the machine out a little bit more than I would like it to. But this thing is fully traversable on foot, and it sends you into the Guardian Tower, which you can either come down here into this little area right here, where I was going down in order to make... Let me actually show you. Get out of Creative Flight, come down here. This should just bring you straight down to the bottom of the world, as close to Bedrock as possible. Because when I was trying to get those shulkers to the overworld on episode 200, oh no, that was an abhorrent process. They would spawn right here. I'd put a minecart down, and then just send them off with a boop. And they'd go up there, which is where they end up in the collection area for the main unit that stores all my shulkers. But this is a one-way ticket. You can only come down here. Other than that, you have to walk your way up, which, in order to avoid all of the jumpies, I'm just zooming in creative to fly up. It's a very, very long staircase. And it gets even longer as we go higher than things can normally get down here to attack you from, above the tree line to about 81. Now, if you were to bring another shulker to replace that one, you would probably have to follow it. I would recommend letting it go through and then taking the extra 3 to 5 seconds for it to be ahead of you and then follow it up the elevator shaft yourself. It should just get booped out and then end up on here, which will then send it further down the track until it ends abruptly right over here, where you can then scoot into a boat all the way out here, break the boat, let it teleport into a spawnable space. On Bedrock, glass is not spawnable. But on Java, unfortunately, as I've discovered, it is. So I would recommend putting another button or something on the outside of the glass just to make sure they're not going to spawn outside. Leaves are still safe, so if you want to replace that with leaves, you probably could. It would just be a nightmare. So we are going to drop back down onto the mainland. Blump. And we are right in front of Death's Tribute Heart from Season 1, which will also be featured eventually in the Awkward Kingdom Season 3, as just a little Easter egg for someone to find. And then over here we have the frog done by Zooey Mama on YouTube. I actually really like this design. He has one for all the 3 variations of frog. I just thought doing one was enough. Later, there might be a rendition of the other 2 versions somewhere around. We'll just have to wait and see. As I said before, this is a world tour of the current existing structure of the world where everything is fully walkable on foot. So you can either walk around this area or go to the central zone in the middle of the park, and you can get a nice view of the gazebo or the frogs. And these frog statues that are spitting out water are done by Bitgardener, which you can actually find on YouTube or Twitter. The gazebo is actually marked right here as well, done by Tally Builds. Now, I tried to keep it as original as possible, but it was done in Java, so there are a couple of minor things that I had to change. Now, this right here is an elevator from the bottom of the world up to the gazebo. It's not something you can easily get all the way down to, though you can actually swim down an up elevator if you're determined enough. You don't necessarily need creative mode to do that. We've already gone through most of this area so far. There's just a couple of things on this island we haven't covered, like this over here, which is a combination of two different creators' work. One just designed the barrel as a house, the other converted it into a farm, which I have denoted here. The barrel designs by Nanoroid, and the squid farm adjustments are by Nuvola MC. Go check them out on YouTube. Then we have the Snow Fox, designed by what I can only presume is a European name, Ramoso. Can't decide if that's Italian or French. I don't have an interior. I never got around to doing that. It's probably a mob grinder in there, to be honest. Probably not that big of an issue. Let me just pop into... Nope, that sets it to midnight. Spectator. Pop in... oh, no, there's no mobs in here. It's just well enough lit with the fireplace and the couple little lights I have right here. There's supposed to be a bedroom in here. I just never got around to installing it. And then I had to change these if I was to put chests in here, because you can't put chests under snow blocks in Bedrock, which is unfortunate. Well, you can put them there, they just won't work. And across the way we have our original design for a sniffer farm. The collection system is underneath them. You can see it right here. There's a little pressure plate you can access to get down below. Up here, however, this egg was designed by Draco Plays. A nice pixel art. I don't think I used the correct blocks, though, because these are terracotta, and I believe some of them were supposed to be concretes. I just didn't have them available at the time. And then, of course, we have our fountain build done by Gold Robin. There's going to be a few builds by Gold Robin, actually. I wish this looked better in Vibrant Visuals, but you can barely even see the water, unfortunately. There is a water flowing through here, as you can maybe tell from the shifts of light blue beams kind of coming down. I just wish they were better visible. Over here we have the Eagle Tower, which is linked to the main island, and thus the Quad Wool Farm, Iron Farm, and the two things over there. Inside of this, for those who haven't watched the episodes, is a rather drastic farm designed by none other none other than Silent Whisperer, our resident mad scientist of the community. He did not recommend this many stacked up on top of each other for many devices, and when I tried running it on my Switch, I found out why. Not only did it break, it broke my device. It kicked me from the world while it was on a realm. The Switch cannot handle 9 of these stacked up. It simply cannot. I would only recommend running this farm, even in testing, if you're on a PC that can handle it. Do not run this on a Switch. I will repeat, do not run this on a Switch. Just look at it. It's pretty. There are points up here, or should be points up here, you can access via ladder. Yeah, here's a ladder that you can access any of the levels that you need to install the bone meal to run it. But if you come down to the bottom here, you can access the collection system. It's not sorted. There's too many types of flowers. I have also removed all of the flowers from it from my last test, just so I could organize them into the storage. So I have a flower storage building out this way, which was also a build I got from a creator. The flowers are stored in Disruptive Builds cottage over here. This is one of the few even builds that I have out here. Most of them are going to be odd builds. This is also an even build, which is why it was kind of perfect to put right there, though I couldn't put its flip side on the other side of the road just because of how wide it is and how close it would be to the tower, so I really had to move it over there. But this one is also done by Nanoroid. There's a couple of builds that are, or a couple of creators that have multiple of their builds showcased on here, and I tried to showcase them as they were put in the video, just as a full nod to them, to showcase their building capabilities for those who have not actually seen their content. And I credit any creator that I use their designs somewhere on or in the build. Like this was inspired by Thunk MC, but I have extended it out. It was originally just a couple of these, maybe 5 or 7, but I extended it all the way down here. And I will say, when I was doing the duping, it was part of the reason I was having mass lag, because I put it right next to my mega duper. Probably not the smartest idea. For how fast time goes when you're mega duping, the days flew by, and because of that, the growth rate for these skyrocketed, and by the time I was unable to continue duping, these were all completely full. Like, I filled this barrel completely, and this barrel should have a complete full set. That was all from the first collection breakdown, and that was not enough. I had to put some away. Also, this was my original design for a bamboo stalk. I was going to say sugarcane, but that's not sugarcane, that's bamboo. This is Time Runner's house, which has a portal in the basement and access to the Nether Hub, as well as the version over there will have its own. This one, I started the process of fully decking out. I tried to give a full nod to his build style. I don't think I got everything though, so there might be a couple of bits that aren't exact, but I tried to get as much as I could. Each of these rooms have a bed, so I couldn't put it any closer to villagers, otherwise it might link to them, and I'd rather not have an expanded iron farm issue like I did on Trustfall Season 2? Yeah, I built a farm, like 20 or 30 bed villager iron farm, and then about 300 blocks away, I moved one of the villagers to my base and built an iron farm there, but because he's from the village that already had a farm structure, it linked the two. So I would get a bunch of babies in my base that I didn't want. Yeah. Just be careful with villagers and moving them from an iron farm because the bedrock is buggy as crap. There's a reason they call it bug rock. Nope, didn't mean to do that. Get that out of my hand, actually. And we have a nice view of the bridge as well as the island that's out there. Plenty of storage. I'm actually quite proud that I was able to replicate this design so well. So well, in fact, that I made my own color palette swapped version. And each of them should have their own little station for restoring your XP if you fly around too much, as well as a lava collection unit for this over here. However, this is actually an up-to-date map, complete with the last couple of things that we added in, like the 2 docks right here, and everything on this side is up to date except for these 2 right here, I believe, are not going to be up to date for obvious reasons. That should limit the amount of lag you have to deal with on the world, although none of these are exact copies of the ones in the main house, so you may have to fill them out separately or just swap them out. We also have a map of the end hub. I wish we could have one for the nether hub, but you know, maps don't work in the nether. And then we have these rooms out back here. Again, I really like Time Runner's design capabilities. If this was original, dude, you nailed it. I'm not that great with designing new actual houses. I could design bridges. I could design farms and collection systems and pixel arts, but houses, you know, it's very ironic. When I was in high school, the only thing I would have gone to college for would have been for architecture, and I still can't design a house to save my life. Which is one of the reasons why I build these things over here from other creators to showcase the community's build capabilities. This, along with several other builds in this world, are from Lex the Builder. It has its own massive episode, as well as these builds over here will have their own series of episodes for when I built them. This is fairly recent, actually, done by Arashi_12 on YouTube. And this, I believe, was also done by Gold Robin. Oh, no, this was Disruptive Builds and Cryptozoology. My mistake. Like I said, there's a few things on the world from Gold Robin, like that build over there. This one was by Nubula MC. And of course, you've seen everything that's out that way, aside from the little lava station right there, which isn't really worth mentioning. It's just something small, so we could have something for the super smelter. And this was by Koala Builds. This is a medieval blacksmith, which I've tried to keep exact as much as possible. But again, there are some discrepancies between Java and Bedrock on what you're allowed to place on what. Come in here, you'll see most of the same stuff from their video. Now, any episode where I include someone's build, I will include the video link if there is one, or a link to the post on Twitter if that is the only option I have. The interiors for these were completely original. I tried to incorporate all of the nether blocks in here. I believe this is going to be slightly rotated on the nether side, but it should be fine. If we look up, you'll see some of these have a flat roof interior because this is the bottom of the beacon setup. You'll see we have strength and regeneration right now. This one has one. Anything with a tree in the middle is not going to have one, so that one over there doesn't. That one over there doesn't. I don't think it does anyway. See, now we're far enough away, we're not getting any new effects. Originally, this one was gonna have... Wait. Oh no, there's a beacon right there that has haste. That's why. I was gonna say. But let's head back to the bridge over this way. And before we take a look at that bridge, we're gonna take a look at these builds right here. Now, originally this island was just covered, literally littered with horses. I unofficially named it Horse Island before I realized just how connected it was with everything else. So that's why there's two stables right here with several different areas, and you can see we are still getting horses spawning here. One of the benefits of leaving grass is you will occasionally get random aminals. And we have a donkey that wandered off the edge. This is very easy to walk off the edge of if you're not careful, and there's very few ways to get back up. However, if you want, you can swim all the way over to the dock that's on that side, or the dock that's on the other island in order to get back out of the river without having to build any ugly blocks over everything. Now we have this mud farm, which was also designed by Nuvola MC, and it does work. You just got to make sure you have enough water. Let's see, is there any in here already? Yeah, it has its own recycling water system. All you have to do is place dirt right here, and it should work just fine. See, it's already extending out a little bit. I have to remember not to place too quickly because I'm placing faster than the world is able to keep up with. And once you hit a certain edge, it will automatically push everything out and restart the cycle and only go until there's like 13 rows all the way down. So it is a very efficient and functional build. And when you're done with all of that mud and you really don't want to look at it anymore, you can bring it over here and let it dry out and it'll turn into clay, which I recently found out. You can put clay underneath a water block and have nothing above it, and potentially start spawning axolotls. Grian, I hope you realize that. Sorry. A little too fresh, isn't it? Had a hell of a time trying to get a blue axolotl in, was it season 11? Then we have these two horse stables by Gorillo. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly and it doesn't have the doubles. Clay Farms by Nuvola MC. And then we are officially done with this area and we can go on to the bridge. And the bridge was designed by Fantasy Builds on YouTube. This is the original design, although there are a couple of caveats. Like there was, instead of these blue lights, there were hanging ferns, which you can't hang ferns from a chain on Bedrock, unfortunately, so I had to swap them out for the blue lanterns, which actually don't take away from the aesthetic, at least as far as I see it. And this bridge leads all the way over to another Lex the Builder build, which you can access without hitting any of the berry bushes. This is the first Lex build that I put on the world, the Medieval Mansion. This is very intensive of a build if you want to make it exact to spec. Now, following the tutorial, you're pretty much just going to be having stone bricks and then just dotting the other stone in. Yeah, I built the thing completely and then took a bunch of screenshots. That's how I do a lot of my tribute builds, is I'll do the build completely in creative mode on a copy and see how it fits, try and make it exact to spec, and then take a bunch of screenshots to try and match it when I build it on the actual final copy of the world. I'll try to make sure if it's an intensive build or a very long tutorial that I give it its own week's worth of episodes. Or if it's too specific and easy to follow, then I'll just build it off screen and showcase what it looks like after the fact. This area might have had another build at some point, but I never did get around to giving them a neighbor, so this this house does not have a bed. But what it does have is a full view of the wizard statue. Now, this is not the original light from the tutorial, nor is that the original coat or pants. I just decided to add a little bit of color. And there is a sign down here denoting that this is from good old Rusty, as well as the original stand, which he did not include in the tutorial because it wasn't really the focus of the video. The video's focus was the wizard, and there were 3 videos in a row. Definitely go give it a watch. Always support our creative community members. That is the entire purpose of this world at this point, is to support our creative Minecrafters and try and increase our reach as much as possible so new people who haven't played the game or haven't done the research on who makes what types of builds can see an example built all together and go, oh, I like their style. Let me go look them up. What I don't like is this lag. Let me get rid of these stars. There, it's daytime now. Although, for these builds up here, these lighthouses, you can turn it on and off. Or rather, at least on. You can start the process of all of the lights going. And as you leave the area, eventually it will just stop putting out a pulse and stop running. That's why occasionally you have to go click the button if you're in the area. So if you're trying to show somebody where you are at night, you can just be like, hey, look for the lighthouse that's turned on. Because none of these have the portal system that allows it to continue running. Chunk loaders, yeah. None of these have chunk loaders, which is probably for the best, because if you're exploring out thousands of blocks away, you're not going to want to have thousands of blocks away already loaded in against you. I found that out the hard way on the Awkward Kingdom, I believe, when I was flying around like 12,000 blocks away from spawn, and there was somebody loaded in. I think it was my alt actually running an AFK on a farm. Yeah, it broke the loading of the game, so I really could not continue. Granted, I was on a Switch at the time, so that's probably part of my issue right there. But speaking of Season 1 of the Awkward Kingdom, this was an original quad bed iron farm design. It's a 40 bed with my own individual original collection system in here. It's quite extensive. Each of the 4 quadrants have their own storage. This is to help make sure that you don't run out of storage or overflow. You should always have potential for a new golem, and sometimes you might actually get 3 or 4 at once. This is 16 or 17 blocks, I believe. We're at 65 now. If we go all the way up here, we're at 79. Add the 2 additional blocks for your headspace, and yeah, that's 17 or 16 blocks of a fall that they have to take just for the glass down here. And then you factor in the additional blocks up there. It's so that when they get to the bottom where the lava is, they're not rendered in as far as the villagers are concerned, so they'll spawn in another one faster. Trying to use the game's logic against it. It's actually a pretty efficient farm. It's not as fast as I would like it to be, but it still works. Speaking of original designs, the towers and staircases around here were an original design from me, but they wrap around a Just Be Nova portal with the original blocks used for the portal. However, the backdrop behind it was not part of the original tutorial. It's just iron and sea lanterns, but I think it makes it look pretty menacing. Let's put it back to nighttime for a moment so you can see what I mean. It's kind of daunting. Adds a little bit more darkness to the deep slate walls behind. Also brings more of the light out of the portal. I like it. Let's put that back on daytime so I don't murder my freaking computer. And then up here we have a plateau of sorts where I was going to put housing or various other builds, and I just never did get around to doing that yet. I have to find a bunch of cool, thinner, longer builds that I would like to put here. This might have been perfect for the blacksmith, actually, now that I think about it. However, there is signage for this by Zapixel, the docking station. There's one here, and there's one matching it on the far island. They are facing the northern direction. And for some reason, the Happy Gas seem to want to face north also. But what you might notice is every single bit of this is connected by either a road, a bridge, or a portal, or a path. If the game will load for me, you can see what I mean. Yeah, this is what it's like playing on a standalone world instead of on a realm of sorts. Or a server. Yeah. There we go. Sometimes you just have to switch perspectives and force the game to load a little differently. It's catching up slowly. But we can come back around here and we see another cryptozoology storage build that I've been using for my larger and more obscure flowers and plant structures. Then we have this little passage underneath the main pathway. Okay, what are you selling? I'm curious. Anything new? Nothing of note. This I never did get around to putting the dragon on, but this is the Big Baron dragon statue pedestal. I'm the one who added the lights in. The rest of it was entirely his design. The dragon was just a very daunting task that I kept putting off, and eventually we got to episode 400, so, it's just not being put in yet. And then we have another Lex the Builder build over here, this Dark Oak Mansion, which has its own series of episodes, fairly recent, I believe. The reskin of the Time Runner house, which inside has its own interior. It doesn't really have a fully fleshed out one, but it does have the walls and everything. Then, of course, we have this build over here, the Wizard Tower by Jackson Wild. Definitely give their video a watch. It'll be a lot less laggy than this world tour, that's for sure. Get out of creative flight mode, walk up these stairs, and fall off. Okay, these aren't the best, but they do kind of guide you along the path. There we go. Now we're in. Now, going up, I went ahead and added in this all the way to the top. You'll be able to exit and have it close behind you so you don't have to worry about something following you. It gives you a nice vantage point for the area. Especially the main island. And then you go back in, and if you want to go to the basement, you just come all the way back down. You can also go off the sides into the other wings. And I have an enchanting setup down here with my own little design of a basement, which I thought was fitting of a wizard tower. And some spawn proofing, which kind of looks like little tomes of sorts sitting on the edge. It's not fully spawn-proof by any means, but it does look pretty nice, I think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And then we have one of our more recent builds. Come all the way around the front. I never did get the carrots to put in here, unfortunately. It's one of the things I am sorely lacking on is foods. This nice stable design actually has an interior on one side. The other side kind of has an interior, but the top part really doesn't. Oh, lag. Stop it. Thank you. Yeah, see, this one is kind of empty. It's for whatever you really want it to be. Oh my gosh, you're really ruining the immersion of the world tour. Stop it, lag. Stop it. Where is my signage for this? On the front. Yep, right there. Horse stable designed by Mikura on YouTube. I saw the original post made on Twitter and then went to the page and found the design for the video. That should be linked on that episode as well. And then, of course, we can't possibly forget this massive build right here. Come on. Yep, this area is still quite laggy. Where is my signpost? Is it on the front door? Yeah, okay. This is by Eco SMP, Rose Ridge Manor. Very extensive build. I really do like the style, though. There's a couple of things missing from the design interior, like the interior. I've also added a slightly different XP yielder right here, which you can pop that down, pop it up when you're done, and it will shoot out all the XP that you need. I did a little bit of spawn proofing for it so things won't land up there on the redstone bits. Obviously, we have some wandering traders who have left doors open. Rude. And then we have the Psycraft sword portal design, as well as the floor, which was actually designed by Linksy on YouTube. For a nice deep purple fog effect, I went with purple and a little bit of amethyst. I think it looks just magical enough. Let's turn this into nighttime and you can see a little bit darker version of it. It makes it kind of look magenta, I'll give it that. But I assure you this is purple. Let's make it daytime again. Oh, never mind. I was incorrect. This is magenta. That's why it looked that way. Always double check before you assure people you might be wrong. Now, I started the process of extending the roadway down to here, but I never did add in the walls or the lanterns along here. I added some of the walls just from what I removed from the houses, but back here is completely untouched. I gotta, at some point, swap out all of that stone for grass so it doesn't look so hideous. I also need to figure out what I want to do with out here. I don't think I want to leave this wall all the way out. I might have it cut off somewhere in the middle and go out. That way there's more of a path we can have for the coastline. I'll just have to see at some point in the future. There's lots that I want to get done on this world that I just don't have the ability to carve out time for currently. But that is basically everything from up here, aside from these two builds. which this is just a reskin of Lex the Builder's Dark Oak Mansion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I have a couple of episodes dedicated to each of these. More to the reskin, honestly, than to this cherry wood house. Oop. And this right here was done by Lucky on YouTube. Cherry Blossom Survival House. Or mansion, rather. There is no interior to speak of. It's just a shell. But I think it looks, honestly, kind of presidential. This is something that I could see in real life. One of the first houses that I actually showed my mother that she looked at it and went, you know, that's the first realistic build I've seen you make. I could see that on the street. And to be fair, Minecraft isn't really about realism. It's just about things that look cool. Like this little snow fox. He's so adorable. And of course, we cannot forget these builds over here. From Season 1, we have my original chalice statue design. It might cause you quite a bit of lag. I would recommend turning particles off if it's causing you issues. It will nullify some of the sound in the area though, so if you're trying to mess with a chest and it doesn't make the sound, it's probably due to all these campfires and not to your lag. Just keep playing for a little bit and see if it kicks you. If it doesn't kick you, it's those. But when you're in here, you shouldn't hear them as much. Come on, open the chest. Yeah, see, you can hear it inside. But when you're outside or right next to them, it's a little bit more intense. And we do have some of these stables that are full of zombie horses or skeleton horses, or there's a couple regular, I think. There's a donkey, a couple of unused stables, the zombie horse, and another zombie horse. So there's 2 zombies, 4 skellies, and a donkey. And then just an unused one. But the stable here is actually a widened version of my original stable design from Season 1 of the Awkward Kingdom. You'll be hearing that sentence quite a lot, because I tried to tribute a lot of these builds from there. I never did mention who made the lighthouse, did I? Zoom on over here to the little signage. It is by Melfi on YouTube. Definitely go give her a watch. And I think that about covers everything that's on these 2 islands, or 3 islands. It's time to go to the Nether. If I can go to the Nether, thank you, world. There we go. I can move. Okay, this is the original portal from this world. It deserves to be the one we go through on the world tour. Come on. The video's not stalling. It's the game. Come on. You can do it. Catch up. This is not my internet. This is a world that is saved in my application on the device. It does not like going from this dimension to the Nether. But once we're here, it's fine. This is the most recent design changes that have taken place in here, is the Nether Hub. Now, I don't have, like, go left for this particular structure signage, but I do have each portal with its own sign. So you'll be able to get the lay of the land eventually. Now this area in here has been organized just a little bit, so if you wanted to take this area out completely and just kind of tuck one of the corner structures in with all of these bits, you could. I would recommend leaving the duper because it actually does function. At least until Mojang breaks it. And then we have all of this that is sorted. We have all of the slabs, all of the lights that go under the slabs. These 4 things in particular right here are the new blocks that I just could not get into the big duper before they broke it, which they specifically made the effort to break because of the new blocks being added. And then all of these along here is just netherrack. There is not a single box here that has anything other than netherrack. That's how much netherrack I had to remove to do this. And I didn't even get all of it. Not by a long shot. A lot of it despawned. Now, there's another new addition you might have noticed from the thumbnail. Something I didn't show you I was building on camera. This used to be made of quartz and used to just be a ladder. Now it has its own spiral staircase. And if you come up here, you can see all of the effort I have put in to making this nether entrance safe. Nothing in Minecraft can spawn on a glass block. Now, somehow, this 63 wide sphere fits perfectly without having to take any of the blocks around it out. And this is from 0, 0. This light is at 0, 0. So a 63 blocks radius, or diameter rather. The diameter of this is 63. So it's like 31 on each side out from it. And if we come out any of these, we have a fully carpeted area. You can see the dome. You can see the light. We've got wings. 2 of these go to land. This one goes to the basalt area. That one goes to the basalt area. And currently, nothing is going to get up here from the lava. So if you fall in, I hope you brought pearls. Otherwise, you might be kind of boned. This one is going to connect out to this passageway at some point, which is the direction of the nether fortress that's out there. And this one doesn't really have anything in particular to connect to, because this is all just a lava lake. So this could eventually be a ghast farm. We'll just have to wait and see. But this took me all of a single day to do. One time on creative and one time on the actual realm. It's meant to look like an eye. And if you come up here, you can kind of see it. And each of those are color coordinated for north, east, south, and west. The same way the 2 docks that I built in the last week of the series up to now were displayed. Now each of these has its own lantern, but you'll see it better from the carpets. So if you want to know what direction you're going in the nether, just follow the carpet. This means you can look around out here, even if a ghast does spawn somewhere, which there are still some regular nether spaces they could spawn, they're not going to shoot at you. However, if they ever did and you ever needed to repair this, you can come down to the bottom, provided nothing follows you and tries to kill you. And I left some pieces down here for you to repair it with. There's the wool stuff. all the lights and blackstone and quartz and things like that. And then on this side, you have all of the stained glass and tinted glass, so there's always some easy access to repair tools. Just a second, and I will pull up the thing that I used to build this. Plotz Bottler. plotz.co.uk. Now they offer spheres and a bunch of other shapes that you can build. I would recommend using them if you need to make a large, semi-cohesive build. Everything over here is fully accessible on foot, all of these portals, as well as access to our original pathway that we were digging through the nether with. You can just break these out and go down there. At a certain point, I was considering making another pathway, either from here or this one, going down and then to the bastion that's over there, but there's really nothing else there that you need. You have access to the bastion that actually has a spawner. Just head on down that way real quick. This bastion is quite far away, which is why I built the ice tunnel in the first place. However, if you don't want to go by the ice tunnel and you want to just walk, there are access points roughly 600 or so blocks in. Might be 7, actually. No, it's 8. Yep, right here about 800. There are these walkable paths. This one will bring you down to the other long road. And then this brings you down to where we got the bees. But if you take a right going down here, it'll take you about 800 or 900 blocks down this path, which you won't believe how long this took. Easily 2 days just to do this part. Now I'm flying with zoomed speed in creative mode, and it's still taking this long. You can fly here faster than this on regular survival mode. But at the end of this pathway, you'll see the Froglight Farm. It's in normal mode, so you should be seeing how this works in real time. They should end up coming down here any moment. And these little frogs will jump up and eat the little guys that freeze to death and fall down here. Yep, there they go. You should die to the snow and split into a small one, and they should eat them. And because they're doing that, the storage down here will collect it and sort it into where it's meant to go. These 3 at the bottom are organized, the ones above it are not, because there really isn't much of a point to doing that. You can also access the top part up here, so you can see the farm work. It's a bit slow. I'm on creative at the moment, so it's not really registering, oh, there's a player here, let me spawn something in to attack it. It's just passively doing its thing. This, I believe, was also a Silent Whisperer farm. However, you can also access this from the end of the iceboat path if you just get lost or want to go straight down the path and not deviate at all. I am very proud of how much progress I've made on this nether hub in a very short time. I remember finishing the end hub and going, Now what do I do for the nether? And then this update came out. And Chaos Cubed offered sulfur for the ceiling, or for the walls, and then cinnabar for the ceiling. And it was just too perfect. This kind of looks like a ghast, even though it's meant to look like a sulfur cube. We don't really have one of these that is a ghast, per se. Let's showcase where this one goes. We'll turn right here, bonk, fly down this way, until we see another turn off, and it should be on our left, going this direction. Yep, here it is, turn off going to the left. This goes about 900 or so blocks out in that direction. That leads to Fortress number 1. I say number 1 because I found that one first. But then I went here, and this leads to the much, much, much closer one, which should have been number 1, but I found it second, so it just has its own little access point. But straight down here, one across from the other, proving that structures are in a line in Minecraft. Now, we are going to go into Spectator for a moment, so I can show you just how absurdly large this structure is. This thing is massive. This would make a nice base if you were to turn this into one. Absolutely huge. And it continues out this way. There's tons of places you could come up from the bottom and pillar into one of these, add staircases or whatever you want to do to go down into each of these. Maybe make your own little houses in them. I don't know, there's lots of things you can do. We're going to come through this wall here. You see, this one extends a little further out this way. It extends a lot out that way. There's a couple of chests in here. I don't think I've even looked in. Let's see. Nope, I haven't looked in these chests. And don't worry, they're not going to be locked just because I look at them in this particular world, because this is not the download you'll be receiving. It's a copy of the download you'll be receiving that I put into creative mode, so the copy you'll be getting if you choose to download it from Patreon is going to be on normal mode, survival, with no mods or add-ons. You should be able to earn achievements. There shouldn't be any hang-ups or issues with it. Let's come this way, and then we're just going to zoom through this wall. And you will see this right here. I actually went into survival mode, flew from that fortress down and around to make it to this side. So it can be done without breaking any current blocks. And this is what it looks like from underneath, since you're probably not going to see from underneath very well with all the lava that's down here. It's the first time I'm seeing it from underneath, actually, and it looks pretty good. And then, of course, it leads down into here. Let's go back to creative. That's the Guardian farm. We want to come out this way. We're going to go down to the Warden Tower and the other towers momentarily. This is the most confusing portion, because if you forget where you started from, like you go to the bathroom right here in the middle of the intersection, like, these look completely identical, where do I go? Just pick a direction, and if you see a turn, it'll help you figure out where you are in space. This is the Warden Tower, which for many people who might not have seen that episode, looks a bit similar, but also very different from the other towers I've built. And the reason this is called Warden Tower is more than just the blocks used to make it. It's also because you drop down literally into an ancient city. So we're going to drop down real quick, and you will land in this puddle of water. So you're not going to die, and you shouldn't trigger anything because this is surrounded by wool. Let's night vision up. I don't know how much of this I have explored or just left unattended. I don't see a whole lot of wool placement, so I think I just kind of left it and only looked for a specific item that was out here. But this is an ancient city you can make your own. See, I went this way a little bit. Stopped right around here. Yeah, I must have found exactly what I needed and... Oh no, there's a little bit of exploration I did over here. I see the wool now. I did not see it before. So I found what I needed, and then I left. But this is fully accessible. You could just fly right back up. End up right in the main section. What I might end up having to do, if this becomes too hazardous for people, is putting in one of these or two of these be surrounded by water, just so you could just fall into the water and not take fall damage or headbutt the ceiling. But this is what it looks like from the inside. Let's take a look at it from the outside. Kind of nestled between a dark oak biome and a snowy peaks biome. With a little bit of ice visible, which is nice. And then you have all of this out here that you can use. I have not built anything else out this way, just this tower. Let's actually see what it looks like at night real quick, since we can do that. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Oop, time set day. All right, we are just under 2,000 blocks away from spawn. Let's go to the mangrove tower now and take a peek over there. Gonna head all the way down this road and then take a left. Head down this way, and here's the mangrove tower. Come through here. Load for far too long. And this one kind of looks like a barn of sorts, honestly. With the stripped jungle and mangrove logs. The inside, I wanted to look like it was overtaken by the roots of these glowberry bushes, which is kind of fitting because they're on glowstone, so it's like the roots are taking on the glow and then resulting in the berries radiating light. And then, of course, we have our staircase of mud and such. And I went with a little bit of different foliage. There's a cactus, there's some bamboo, a couple bits of firefly bush, even some sea pickles. And if we come out here, you have to be careful which exit you come out, because only one of them has a staircase. These two, I never actually built one in because I wasn't sure what I was doing with that one yet. And then this one could probably be heading out this way. But this particular staircase comes down to Silence Fish Farm. This should start rendering in some tropical fishies if we wait. Yep, there's some. And they will end up going towards the trident killers, which do they still have tridents? Or were they... No, the tridents all... Oh wait, no, there's one. Yeah, I see it. It's that little bubbling thing right there. So this was well enough out of range that all the tridents are still here. Proof that I did put tridents in some of my trident killers, because some of them did not actually stay from all of the duping. This was 3,000 plus blocks away from spawn, so the only thing I'm ashamed of here is this just looks hideous. It does not have the same structure as the Warden Tower one did. I wasn't sure what I was doing with it at the time, but it never got cleaned up. Although the outside roofing I'm quite proud of. I love the cactus flower and dark prismarine combo. It's the perfect contrast. And we're going to go back through. Yeah, it's going back the way we came. If we follow this directly back, we will end up back at the Visage. But we want to come all the way down this path before we do that. This is going to take us directly to our new sulfur cave biome. We'll just take a right here, and it's not that far down the path. I left plenty of room for expansion with these blocks. It's kind of perfect for right here, actually, because you get those blocks from this biome. Yeah, this is going to be fully enclosed. So the sulfur cubes will just take on whatever blocks you give them. Let's see what netherrack does. So you have netherrack. Not very bouncy. You won't take on items. You'll take on a full block. Nothing fancy. What about green terracotta? No, for some reason they just don't classify as bouncy. But this was the cave that we didn't get a very good look at in the episode, I believe it was 297? Might have been 296, actually. Came down here, grabbed a couple blocks, duped the crap out of them, and finished another hub. Now, on the actual world, that will not still be opened up, so you will have this be completely safe. And if we follow this path all the way down, we will end up turning here and end this road at the Stronghold portal. Which is perfect, because I actually wanted to showcase the end hub a little bit before we wrap things up. But let's take a look at the outside of this tower first. This one has a better base than the Mangrove Tower does, and I didn't finish the pathways that leave out from the sides of it, I'm noticing. But I did finish the tower itself, and even with the darker red, the cactus flowers do still look pretty good. I didn't go out from this way very far. This was the original stronghold that I used to get to the end. You can get from the portal down to this pathway into the hole, which is very similar to the one that leads into the Warden Tower. And right up here You have a perfectly safe area that things are not going to spawn on. You can walk all the way up this way into the central area of the end hub. Nothing will spawn here or get to you. Everything is slabbed. This was done before I had the northeast southwest colors for the nether hub or for the other stuff. So this is just going to look a bit different. That would be a lot of different blocks to have to replace. I'm still proud of how it came out, so we're going to leave it this way. I wanted to do the original 4 colors of stone that you'll have to contend with when you're walking around the overworld. Granite, diorite, andesite, and tuff. No actual stone, but those different types of stones. And of course I had to use something different for south, otherwise the andesite polished would not come out very cleanly. Wouldn't be able to see it that well. But you can also follow this path out here down to elevator, go down to the leaf collection zone here, and end up at the Ender Farm. They'll spawn up here with you down there, get mad at that thing, fall down the bottom, and you should start seeing them fall into this middle section momentarily. Come on, fellas. Start spawning. Do I have to be all the way down at that level for you to spawn? Let's pop in here. Where is the actual walkway? There it is. Now we're in creative. Oh, no. Okay. Yep, they're starting to fall down here. And they're still looking up because they're still angry at the endermite that's up there. But this fills up pretty quickly. You'll be able to get a bunch of pearls and a lot of XP. For those who don't want to use the redstone aspects and just go traditional with it, this should still be safe. I don't think the dragon's attacks actually made it out this way. This does not have an elevator, it actually has a ladder. But the road does continue. Comes out this way. And these passages do not have access to the outside. So you would have to come from the main area here, go around if you wanted to get down here. But this was the first tower that was ever made on this world. This was the one that we first went into, so I wanted to make sure it was noticed. So this right here denotes the very first gateway that opened. Now let's see if I had a bed set. I believe I set my bed down, slept in it, and broke it, so I should end up at world spawn. No, I slept in the house. I somehow remembered to do that. Okay. Well, when you're in the house, we have our own little map. And then we have this one over here, which showcases the pixel art, very barely up at the top. I also have a closer version of the pixel art right here. I'm very proud of how that came out, honestly. That actually took several hours of trying to situate everything properly for it to come out right, sized properly and all. Now, if you're in the house, you might notice we have these labeled segments. Literally any armor you would need, you can take from here, or you can go to the armory. And I am going to showcase that real quick before we end off. We're going to go to the stable over here. And we're going to go down into the storage that Time Runner helped me design. We're going to take this button down. And now we're in the armory. Each of these smithing templates is stored in its own stack of barrels. You will never need to replicate any of these again. And that includes bolt and flow. They are all color coded, and each of these stations has their own materials you can use in order to use the trim and apply it in whatever color combination you could possibly want. I'm very, very happy with how this ended off. I also have tons upon tons of backups of each of these materials. I have a bunch of name tags you never have to worry about running out, bunch of anvils, TNT, end crystals even. There's a few. There's enough for you to summon the dragon a few times if you really want to, just for funsies. And then each of my utensils, which is aptly named, has its own collection. I also have each of the maces, Bane of Arthropods, Density. This one should be Breach. And then I have another one somewhere for Windburst. Yeah, this is the Windburst one. I have just a general trident. I have one that should have channeling, and then the other one's going to have Riptide. I have a ton of these, and general gear replacement boxes like this. See if it'll actually place properly. Yeah. You'll get whatever you need to just stuff in your ender chest. You could grab 5 or 6 of them, put them in your ender chest, and then just go. Do whatever you want to do, explore wherever you want to go, and then you never have to worry about dying. XP is meaningless. You can just go have fun. Survival mode it, creative mode it, adventure mode it if you want to. This is the perfect all-purpose battle box. And then, of course, I have a bunch of experience. I do have the enchanted golden apples, rockets, totems, shields, all that fun stuff. I even have these, which should be the level 5 ones. Ominous bottle. Yep, ominous 5. Literally anything you could possibly need in this world, you have access to. Essentially, with the duping, you can do whatever you want to do. This is why I spent days, no, months, duping. Just duping. Collecting items, duping them up, mass duping them to the point of never needing to do so again. Yeah, we're good. There's a couple of things that I missed, I will admit, like the base foods, carrots, potatoes, all that nonsense. The leaves, I did not get many of them. I did get the cherry leaves because I was building with those a lot. I did get the flowering azalea leaves. I think these count as leaves, but I did get the warp blocks and the warped warp blocks. I also managed to do these. Yeah, you want to have some fun, this is the world to do it on. All the building blocks you could ever need in here. Up at the top, we have all the ores. Yes, they have been mass duped in the same way. All of the solid ore blocks, all of the light variations. A couple of other things from copper that didn't really fit anywhere else, including the copper chests. Oop. Down this way, I've got some of the sands, some of the snows, ice, end blocks, mud blocks. I didn't get to dirt, grass, rooted dirt, or any of that. Although I did make time to get the dragon eggs. So you want to build with dragon eggs or have extra wings. Well, there's a ton of wings anyway. That's just for whatever other wings, and I didn't really get to those, but we can make a bunch of chorus flower farms. There's a ton of things you can do with all of this. There's even an abundance of turtle eggs. You could just have a massive turtle farm. The one thing I didn't get that's over here is the spore blossoms, unfortunately. Although I'm pretty sure your frame rate will appreciate the fact that I didn't get to doing that. And then this storage area is completely unused. Still. And then of course we have all of the terracottas, both regular and smelted. We have all the glasses, all of the dyes. The wool I didn't get to be completely honest with you, but I have enough wool farms that you should just use those. Concrete, I got to the regular ones. I did not get to the powders because I believe the sand duper will still work for gravity blocks. I believe. I have not tested that to make sure. But this is the world that you would be getting if you went and subscribed on Patreon for the world download. There are a couple of things I did not get around to showing, but that is all of the notable stuff, all the main goodies for the world. So thank you all for watching this 2-hour long exhibition of what's in Craftverse up to episode 400, and hopefully there will be a return in the future. So I have a ton of plans that I would love to be able to do, but I just got to prioritize real life at the moment. As much as I would like to prioritize Craftverse and pelt that out and just go full bore into it, family's got to come first. So I do fervently appreciate everything you guys have done between watching the episodes, subbing to the channel, commenting on the videos, trying to expand the community further. And I hope you continue to enjoy the series, even if you watch it back from the first episode to now. And hopefully by the time you finish that, there will be some new stuff coming out. Who knows? I will have the link to the world download in the description of this video, but you will need to sub to Patreon in order to access it. So please do that. And I will see you in the next episode of whatever series comes next. Farewell.